What if I told you that for years you might have been unknowingly living by the wisdom of ancient Roman emperors and philosophers, and doing so without even realizing it? No, we're not talking about wearing togas or suddenly craving gladiator fights. We're talking about your mindset. Today, we're not diving into dusty books about bearded sages. We're talking about you. We'll explore 5 truly unexpected signs that Stoicism already plays a role in your life. And I promise, some of these signs will genuinely surprise you. They'll shatter all your preconceived notions about Stoics being cold, unemotional statues, ready to uncover the secret philosopher within. Then let's dive in. Before we get into those signs, let's quickly clear up one common misconception. When most people hear the word Stoic, they picture someone who suppresses all emotions, a person with a stone face who simply doesn't care about anything. But that's a huge misunderstanding. True Stoicism isn't about lacking emotions, it's about mastering them. It's not about feeling nothing. It's about not being a slave to your feelings. Ancient Stoics, like Emperor Marcus Aurelius, playwright Seneca, and the former slave Epictetus, were flesh and blood people. They faced betrayal, illness, political intrigue, and profound loss. Their philosophy wasn't an academic theory. It was a practical operating system for surviving and thriving in a harsh world. It's a toolkit for finding tranquility, courage, and wisdom. And as it turns out, many of us intuitively use these very tools today. So, here's the first and perhaps the most crucial indicator. You mentally categorize events into 2 groups, those you can influence and those you can't. And crucially, you refuse to waste your emotional energy on the latter. Picture this. You're stuck in gridlock, running late for a crucial meeting. Horns blare, tempers flare all around you. But instead of slamming your fist on the dashboard and cursing the world, you take a breath. Maybe you put on your favourite podcast. Or perhaps you call ahead to inform them of your delay. You recognise that your frustration won't magically clear the road. That, right there, is the dichotomy of control in action. You can't control traffic, the weather, the global economy, or even your boss's mood. But what you absolutely do control is your reaction to these external factors. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Those are entirely yours to command. This simple realization is a powerful balm for frayed nerves. It restores your sense of agency over your life, even when the world around you feels chaotic. This isn't apathy, it's a strategic allocation of your energy. And if this sounds like you, then congratulations. You're already thinking like a Stoic. Let's dive deeper into this foundational principle. It's not just about getting stuck in traffic, it's about your entire life. Say you didn't get the promotion you were hoping for. Instead of spending weeks seething over an unfair boss, you analyse the situation. What was within your control? The quality of your work, your interview preparation, your skill set. What was outside your control? Your boss's personal biases, the company budget, the existence of another, perhaps better suited candidate. A Stoic approach means focusing on what you can improve about yourself. Maybe it's time to take some extra courses or update your resume and explore other companies. You redirect your energy from pointless anger into constructive action. The same principle applies to relationships. You can't force someone else to love you or to change, but you can control how you behave, how honest and open you are. Focusing on your sphere of control isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to immense inner strength and maturity. Here's an unexpected aspect of this trait. People who practice the dichotomy of control often appear more effective and successful to outside observers. But it's not magic. The secret is they simply don't waste time or mental energy on things they cannot change. Imagine you have 100 units of energy for the day. An average person might spend 50 of those units worrying about the past, feeling anxious about the future, and getting frustrated with others. That leaves them with only 50 units for actual productive tasks. Someone with a Stoic mindset, however, might only allocate 10 units to these unproductive things, simply because they quickly catch themselves thinking, "This isn't within my control." This leaves them with a full 90 units of energy for work, family, hobbies, and personal growth. They simply have a far greater resource pool for achieving their goals. So, if you've ever found yourself easily letting go of situations you can't influence and instead focusing on your own actions, know this. You're utilizing one of the most powerful productivity life hacks, a principle discovered over 2,000 years ago. So how can you consciously put this into practice? Here's a simple yet powerful exercise. The next time you find yourself feeling anxious, angry, or worried, just pause for a moment and ask yourself one simple question. Is what's bothering me right now something I have complete control over, partial control over, or absolutely no control over at all? For instance, an exam result falls under partial control. You can study and prepare diligently, but you can't control the specific questions that appear or the examiner's mood. Other people's opinions of you, however, are completely beyond your control, but your own honesty and kindness, those are entirely within your control. If something is truly beyond your power, accept it as it is. Think of it like the weather. You don't get angry at the rain, do you? You simply grab an umbrella. If something is under partial control, focus intensely on the part you can influence. Do everything in your power and then release the outcome. This exercise, much like meditation, will, over time, transform into a natural habit, and that habit, in turn, forms the bedrock of true inner peace. Let's move on to our second surprising sign. Do you sometimes find yourself picturing the worst-case scenario? Sounds counterintuitive, right? We're constantly told to think positive and visualize success. But you, on the other hand, might sometimes sit down and think, what if I get fired? What if this project fails? What if I get sick? To an outsider, this might look like pessimism, or even a bit masochistic. But the Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. And it's an incredibly powerful tool. The goal of this exercise isn't to spiral into depression. It's to preemptively strip a potential catastrophe of its greatest power, the element of surprise and fear. When you calmly consider the worst possible outcome, you often realize it's not as terrifying as it seems. Okay, so you get fired. What then? You'll look for a new job. You have skills, savings, and friends who will support you. You mentally map out a plan B. And just like that, fear recedes. It's replaced by a quiet confidence that you'll manage. Let's explore how this practice, often referred to as premeditation of adversities or negative visualization, actually works. First, it makes you far more resilient to life's challenges. When something bad truly happens, it no longer comes as a shock. You've already been there mentally. Your mind is prepared. It's like an inoculation against panic. You don't waste precious time caught in stages of denial and anger, but instead move directly to problem solving. Secondly, and perhaps even more crucially, this exercise profoundly enhances your sense of gratitude for what you possess right now. When you imagine losing your job and then open your eyes to realize you still have it, you begin to appreciate it immensely more. When you've contemplated a serious illness, you feel the joy of your good health with renewed intensity. This stark contrast compels you to value the simple things you typically take for granted. Thus, by mentally preparing for the worst, you are actually making your current life much happier and more mindful. It's a paradox the Stoics understood thousands of years ago. It's crucial to debunk a common myth. This practice has absolutely nothing to do with the negative interpretation of the so-called law of attraction. You don't attract misfortunes simply by thinking about them. That's not how the mind works. You can't conjure an earthquake or cause yourself to be fired just by thought alone. Instead, what you're doing is preparing your inner world for potential external events. It's a form of mental training, much like firefighters conducting drills. They simulate a fire, not to manifest one, but to ensure they are fully prepared should it occur. Moreover, this approach serves as a powerful antidote to toxic positivity, the idea that you must always perceive only the good in everything and suppress any negative thoughts. Sometimes a sober and realistic assessment of potential risks and problems is, in fact, the healthiest and most constructive approach. So, if you occasionally find yourself mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios, Don't chastise yourself for pessimism. It's possible your intuition is actually employing an ancient Stoic technique designed to strengthen your resilience and spirit. How can this technique be used safely and effectively? The key isn't to do it constantly or get carried away with morbid fantasies. Simply dedicate a few minutes to it once a week. Choose one of your anxieties, for instance, the fear of public speaking. Sit quietly and visualize in vivid detail your absolute worst-case scenario. You walk onto the stage and forget every single word. The audience laughs. They boo you. Allow yourself to fully experience that feeling of shame and humiliation in your mind's eye. And then simply ask yourself, so what? What happens the next day? Will your world fall apart? No. You'll go home. Your loved ones will support you. Within a week, it will be forgotten. You'll come to understand that your fears are often far more terrifying than the actual reality. This method drastically lowers your anxiety levels before the actual event. It's as if you've already pre-experienced the fear in a manageable way. So when you step onto the real stage, your brain will already have processed that even the worst outcome isn't catastrophic, and nothing truly irreparable will occur. The third sign, and this one might strike you as even more peculiar, you deliberately introduce a little discomfort into your life from time to time. For instance, you might choose a cold shower, even though hot water is available. Or you walk several kilometres, even when taking the bus would be much easier. Or you intentionally skip lunch, practicing intermittent fasting, even if you're not trying to lose weight. Or you spend a night sleeping on the floor instead of your comfortable bed. Why do this? From a purely hedonistic standpoint, focused on the pursuit of pleasure, it looks like meaningless self-torture. But from a Stoic perspective, it's a form of training. It's like hitting the gym, but not for your physical muscles. It's for the muscles of your will and spirit. Each small, controlled challenge proves to you that you can endure far more than you realise. You learn to distinguish between a genuine need and a mere desire for comfort. You realise you can thrive with very little, and that brings an incredible sense of freedom. You stop fearing difficulties because you regularly create and overcome them yourself. What's the deeper meaning behind this practice the Stoics called voluntary discomfort? First, it fortifies your will. In a world constantly striving for maximum comfort, our willpower tends to weaken. We grow overly reliant on ease and convenience. The elevator breaks down. It feels like a major setback. The internet is out for an hour. Pure panic. Voluntary discomfort helps us regain control. When you consciously choose the harder path, you train your ability to do what's necessary, not just what's convenient or desirable. This skill then translates into truly important areas of your life. Seeing a difficult project through to completion, sticking with your fitness routine, or keeping your promises. Second, it broadens your comfort zone. What once seemed unbearable becomes perfectly tolerable. A cold shower might feel shocking at first, but after a week, you adjust to it. After that, a cool day outdoors no longer feels so daunting. You become less coddled and more adaptable to any conditions. You become anti-fragile. Challenges don't break you, they make you stronger. There's another unexpected and truly delightful benefit to embracing voluntary discomfort. It dramatically sharpens our appreciation for comfort. After a long day on your feet, how sweet it is to sink into a comfortable armchair. After a cold shower, the pure delight of wrapping yourself in a warm towel. Skip just one meal and even the simplest food tastes incredibly delicious. We live in an era where basic comfort has become the norm, and as a result, we've stopped appreciating it. We simply take it for granted. Voluntary discomfort temporarily strips us of this comfort, and when we return to it, we experience an almost childlike joy and gratitude. It allows us to effectively reset our pleasure receptors. You begin to truly appreciate what you already have, and you stop the endless chase for new pleasures that ultimately leave you feeling unfulfilled. Thus, by consciously embracing discomfort, you paradoxically increase the overall happiness and satisfaction in your life. How can you start practicing this without going to extremes? There's no need to book a survival trip deep into the wilderness right away. Start small. Focus on what's easily accessible to you right now. today. Pick just one thing. For example, this week, commit to always taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Or try going a whole day without sugar and coffee. Or leave your phone in another room for an entire evening. The key is that this must be your deliberate, conscious choice. And crucially, that it's safe for your health. Observe your reactions and sensations. Your mind will resist, whine, and try to convince you to give up. Your task is simply to observe this inner voice, acknowledge it, and continue doing what you decided. Each time you win this small internal battle, your willpower strengthens, and you'll become increasingly convinced that your comfort and happiness stem not so much from external circumstances, but from your inner state. And this, fundamentally, is one of the core tenets of Stoicism. The fourth sign has two parts like two sides of the same coin. The first part is this: you periodically contemplate your own mortality, but instead of inducing dread or depression, it motivates you. You might find yourself thinking, I won't be here forever. Time is passing. For many, this thought evokes fear and panic, but for someone with a Stoic mindset, it becomes an incredibly powerful filter for priorities. This practice is known as memento mori. Remember you must die. When you truly internalize that your time is finite, you start asking yourself the right questions. Is what I'm doing right now truly important? Is that argument I got drawn into really worth my precious minutes? Is binge watching this series for 5 hours straight truly the best use of my limited time? This awareness of finitude cuts away the superfluous, all the clutter and distractions. It forces you to focus on what truly matters: your relationships with loved ones, creative pursuits, helping others, and understanding the world around you. If the thought of death doesn't paralyze you with fear, but instead compels you to act and live a fuller, more purposeful life, that is a truly Stoic sign. But then there's the flip side of this coin. It's called amor fati, love of one's fate. This is a more advanced level. It's not just about accepting what happens, but genuinely approving of it and even loving it. This means embracing everything without exception, the good and the bad, successes and failures. Why? Because all of it is an integral part of your unique life. The Stoics believe the universe is rational and purposeful, and that everything that happens has a reason and a goal, even if we can't always see it. Amor fati is about ceasing to struggle against reality. It's letting go of if only thoughts. Instead, you say, yes, this happened, and it's okay. It's part of my journey. What can I learn from this? Lost your job? Amor fati. It's an opportunity to find work you truly love. Broke up with your partner? Amor fati. It's a chance to understand yourself better and clarify what you truly want from relationships. This doesn't mean you should celebrate tragedies. It means embracing them as an inherent part of life and recognizing their potential for growth. How are memento mori and amor fati connected? They are a perfectly complementary pair. Memento mori is your compass. It tells you what to do, where to direct your efforts with the time you have. It helps you act decisively. Amor fati is your anchor. It tells you how to react to whatever unfolds as you act. It helps you perceive reality correctly. Imagine you're the captain of a ship. Memento mori reminds you your voyage is finite. It urges you to sail directly towards your goals, unburdened by trivial distractions. Amor fati, conversely, teaches you to embrace both the storm and the calm. Both are fundamental parts of the ocean, essential to your journey. Without storms, you'd never truly learn to navigate your vessel. Without calm seas, you'd never fully appreciate a following wind. A person who lives by these two philosophies becomes incredibly resilient. They are difficult to divert from their path, for they know precisely where they are going. And they are impossible to crush, because they accept and embrace every condition the journey presents. You might be thinking right now that this all sounds a bit too philosophical, a bit too detached from real life. But think for a moment. Haven't you had moments where something unfortunate happened, only for you to look back years later and realize it was actually for the best? That job loss led you to your life's true calling. That painful breakup made way for true love. That disastrous project taught you lessons no book ever could. If you've had experiences like these, if you've learned to trust that process, then you're already practicing amor fati. You're not just passively accepting fate, you're learning to work with it. You start to see obstacles not as walls, but as stepping stones. This is the ultimate expression of Stoicism. Not passive resignation, but an active, creative embrace of life in its entirety. It's about turning every poison into medicine, every obstacle into a new path forward. If this idea resonates with you, then you're far more of a Stoic than you might ever have realized. And finally, the fifth unexpected sign. You're able to look at your problems from a bird's eye view. Imagine you're deeply upset about something. For instance, you've had a petty argument with a colleague. You're overwhelmed by resentment and anger. At that moment, you take a step back and mentally zoom out from the situation. You picture yourself in your office, then you see the entire building, then your neighborhood, your city. You continue to zoom out until you see your country on a globe, then the entire planet Earth, a tiny blue marble floating in the vast, black expanse of space. And somewhere on that tiny sphere, in one of billions of buildings, sits a tiny human, you, angry at another equally tiny human. How does your problem seem now? How significant is it in the grand scheme of the universe? This technique, a favourite of Marcus Aurelius himself, is known as the view from above. It doesn't invalidate your feelings, but it places them in their proper context. It reveals how fleeting and insignificant many of our worries truly are. What psychological effect does this bird's eye view offer? First and foremost, it humbles our ego. Our ego is that part of us that believes our problems are the absolute centre of the universe. It screams, "This isn't fair. This shouldn't be happening. I've been wronged." This bird's eye view gently, yet persistently, reminds our ego of its true size. It shows us that the world doesn't revolve around us, and that's an incredibly liberating feeling. You stop taking everything so personally. Resentment and anger fade away because their fuel, that exaggerated sense of self-importance, simply runs dry. Instead, you find a sense of calm and even a gentle irony towards your own struggles. You start to see not just your own point of view, but the entire picture. You realise that your colleague might also be going through something, and their abruptness wasn't directly aimed at you. This perspective fosters not just calm, but also deep compassion. You become wiser and more tolerant, both with yourself and with others. It's crucial to understand. Taking a higher perspective isn't a way to escape problems or pretend they don't exist. It's not about telling yourself, "My problems are trivial. I won't think about them." Your feelings are real and valid. This technique isn't meant to invalidate your experiences, but to give them proper perspective. It's like looking at a painting in a museum. If you get too close, you'll only see individual brushstrokes. To appreciate the whole canvas, you need to step back a few paces. The same applies to our problems. When we're immersed in a situation, we often only see hurt, fear, and anger. A higher perspective allows us to step back to a safe distance and see the whole picture, the causes, the consequences, and potential solutions. It helps us move from an emotional reaction to rational analysis. So if you've ever found yourself in moments of stress, intuitively trying to rise above a situation and look at it from the outside, know that you're employing one of the most elegant tools of Stoic wisdom. How do you practice this technique mindfully? It's incredibly simple and requires no dedicated time. The next time you feel overwhelmed by emotions, be it anxiety before an exam, anger during an argument, or the sting of criticism, pause for 30 seconds. Close your eyes, then begin a mental journey upwards. Visualize yourself in a room. Now see that room from above. Expand your view to the entire house, the street, the city. See it from above the clouds. Then, from a satellite's perspective, observe the continent, then the whole planet. Experience the profound silence and grandeur of the cosmos. Linger in that elevated perspective for a few seconds. After that, gently return, slowly making your way back down, into your body, and back into your room. Open your eyes. You'll notice that the emotional intensity has significantly decreased. The problem itself hasn't disappeared, but it will no longer feel so immense or all-consuming. You'll have gained the mental space and calm needed to think about it clearly. This is a powerful, accessible meditation you can use anytime, and if you're already practicing something similar, you're well on your way to developing Stoic self-mastery. So, to quickly recap, you might just be a secret Stoic if you, first, intuitively grasp the difference between what's within your control and what isn't, and you focus your energy exclusively on the former. Second, you sometimes visualize the worst-case scenario, not to worry, but to prepare yourself mentally, and in turn, appreciate the present moment even more. Third, you occasionally embrace small discomforts voluntarily, using them to strengthen your will and resilience. Fourth, you're keenly aware of life's finite nature, which motivates you to live more meaningfully, and you embrace all of life's unpredictable twists and turns as an essential part of the journey. And fifth, you're able to take a bird's-eye view of your problems, allowing you to gain perspective and prevent emotions from overwhelming you. As you can see, Stoicism isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about courage, wisdom, and self-mastery. It's a practical philosophy designed to help you live a good and meaningful life, even amidst all its inherent difficulties. And perhaps the most surprising thing is that many of us already carry the seeds of these principles within us. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this and recognize some of these traits in yourself, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. Now, a question for you. Which of these signs did you recognize in yourself? Or perhaps you have your own, a sixth trait of a secret Stoic. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories and insights.